Welcome to another edition of All Octaves with me, Val Kleinhans, where we talk music. Specifically, we're going to get into some spacey stuff and some EDM stuff today with Adara. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello, hello. It's a pleasure.
I'm so glad that you're here. I want to talk about all things space and EDM. First off, what fascinates you about space?
It's not a very scientific thing, the answer I'm about to give you, but it truly comes from a place of emotion. Ever
Mm,
since I was a child, I've been absolutely in awe of space. And for me, it's kind of this scientific proof that magic exists, that anything is possible. And when I learned that we as humans were literally made of star stuff, I was hooked. For me, that was the, universe telling me you can be anything you want to be. You dream it and it could happen, so go for it in this life. And I just really want to kind of share that inspiration and that motivation with other people. All of the space imagery has always kind of connected to me. And I've been able to relate with it on an emotional level, about like how I was feeling. There was something in space that visually connected to that emotion. So hope that answers your question.
well, it does, and it makes sense. I mean, if you're made of star stuff, why can't you be a star yourself? Duh.
Right.
Like, that's the question that I would have. How did you just fall in love with music in general? Because I'm sure when you were growing up, you probably wanted to do something with NASA. I'm just gonna guess, but
Oh my gosh, you know me too well. Yes, I was this little 5-year-old walking around telling everybody I was going to go to Harvard and I was going to work at NASA. But then I was also really artistically inclined. So when I should have been studying, math and physics, I was taking dance classes and piano lessons, and I was in my local community theater summer
same.
camps.
Yep.
Okay, good. So you can relate.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So music was kind of always a part of my life. My mom sung to me a lot as a kid, and she was really into musicals. So I have some memories of blasting, Andrew Lloyd Webber's Phantom of the Opera and trying to
Mhm.
hit the high notes and not making them while standing on the couch, giving it my all as a child. And then my dad was really into classic rock. So I have these really fond
Mm.
memories jumping on my mom's workout trampoline in the basement and jamming out to the Rolling Stones and the Eagles and Michael Jackson. So, you know, that was always kind of a part of how I connected with my parents. So, you know, maybe that's how I wanted to connect with everybody else in the world. If I felt like I didn't fit in, I had that emotional connection with the people I loved at home. And maybe through music, I could connect with other people.
So
That's
it's
kind of what,
bonding with them. Yeah.
yeah.
So it's
Yeah. And
bonding with them. And there's something about, I don't know why, but I used to do this when I was little too. I always wanted to do broadcast or maybe even be a singer myself. I found out
yes.
I'm not a musician whatsoever, but like we always turn our parents' workout equipment into our stages. I don't know why. For you, it was
Yes.
the trampoline. I used to do it on my mom's treadmill. And I would pretend that
Yes.
like that was the stage. And my stuffed animals would be like lined up and I would be like, and
Oh my gosh, amazing. I performed to my stuffed animals as well. So I feel like if we had met, you and I would have been best friends growing up.
probably, but like Mr. Mr. Butters, the teddy bear, he was not entertained. He was my harshest critic. He
Oh
was not
no,
having it.
he's the Simon Cowell of your bedroom.
He really was. I don't know why I kept him around. Yeah, I could have been like, boy, you are in the trash. Your
Yeah.
criticism is trash. But no, we kept him around.
Oh, that's
So we
great.
we go from musicals to classic rock to EDM. How did you
Yes.
discover that love of that?
That was purely by accident. I was in Nashville and I had a co-write set up, which I'm sure you're familiar with co-writes. Hopefully your audience is as well, but if they're not, it's just multiple people getting in a room at a planned time, hoping that they're going to be creative and writing a song together.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you get thrown in the room with people you haven't met before. So you're going from
Awkward.
total strangers to being really vulnerable because you're supposed to write from this real emotional place. And you're going to shout out ideas to somebody who could judge you and be like, I don't really like that. I mean, it's kind of a nerve-wracking thing. And I was in a co-write with somebody I knew, but last minute, he said, "Hey, I'm bringing my friend who happened to be an EDM producer." And I had never heard of EDM. I mean, I was jamming out to my parents' Pure Moods CD still, which is like world music and this CD by
Infomercials at 2
Adara.
a.m.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. And gosh, who else is on that? I'm like blanking on her name.
Hmm.
Inya's on that, like Native American music is on that. I mean, it's just everything. I think the theme song that they use from the X-Files is on the CD I had. It was just pure joy. Um, but I just had really never heard of EDM. And when I discovered that through him, I realized that it was just this really expansive genre. You could kind of be more dramatic and creative with it. I mean, even the performances are theatrical, from the pyrotechnics, the lights to the LED screens. I mean, it's just really imaginative. And the festivals they throw is like almost like a Renaissance festival. Sometimes everybody dresses up, there's themes, it's amazing. So I wrote a song with him and I was just hooked. It was kind of everything I was searching for sonically and just wasn't able to do in the pop and singer songwriter world. So, yeah, it was great. And the first song we wrote together was about space, which was the first time I combined music and space together, my two passions. So that's how I got hooked on EDM.
No, that's beautiful. Well, so how do you calm yourself the hell down before you enter into a room with a bunch of strangers that you don't even know? And
Yeah.
songwriting is a very vulnerable thing, and you're sitting there like, I'm about to. I may or may not be about to share some things that I don't know if I'm ready to with a bunch of strangers. How do you get in the zone for that? How do you just decide, screw everything I'm feeling, I'm going to focus on this instead anyway?
Yeah. Well, because sometimes, you're writing maybe at the end of the day and you've got some stuff that's gone on in your life. Like that co-write was after a long day of stressful work. And I had to
Mm.
just go in the evenings and turn on and switch this whole different part of my brain. Um, Honestly, the best way to get into the zone before you write is to all go out and grab something to eat, whether
Huh.
that's
Okay.
coffee or a full-blown meal. Food kind of relaxes people and it brings people together, and you just kind of get to meet each other on a personal level before you're going to go meet each other on a soul level.
Right.
So that's the best way to do it, but sometimes you just have to be prepared for awkward situations and just give yourself a little pep talk like, my ideas are good, don't be afraid to share them, because sometimes it's all about selling it in the room when you have
Mm.
three different people or more. We had a room of five people that night, ended up being five, or no, I apologize, four. There was another
Yeah.
writer that had helped on the track with the EDM producer named Ross Lara, who got thrown into the right at the last minute. Um, but yeah, you just have to like be confident when sharing your ideas. Otherwise, if you're doubting yourself, maybe your co-writers are going to doubt your ideas as well.
Okay. So is part of it maybe saying, you know what, I deserve to be here. I enjoy what I'm doing, and ultimately this is for me. Like
Yeah.
this is to better me and my own craft. If I were a musician, that's what I would say to myself. Do you give yourself a similar pep talk?
I guess, yeah. I mean, gosh, I'm gonna use that from now on. Just this is for me, this is for my dream. Yeah, it's hard because you have to be willing to hear other people's input, but as an artist, know when you have to stand up and say, that doesn't really fit for me personally, like if you're gonna sing the song. Um,
Mm, mhm.
so you have to be flexible but strong, which
No,
can be
feel
tough.
that. Yeah, it can be. I was stalking your YouTube channel earlier, and I
Okay, I'm
noticed that
horrible at updating my YouTube, so sorry.
no, but I learned a few things, particularly in the 42 question video. It was
Oh
kind
yeah.
of based on what Vogue does with 70 questions or whatever it is. And
Yeah,
I was like,
72 of them.
yeah, I love the format. So I was like, great, I'm gonna watch this and I'm gonna learn some things, and this is gonna be funny. It was. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I learned about your love of green tea. Is green tea part of the success when it comes to having a good voice?
You know what? I would say throat coat is more of a success,
Ah,
which is a tea, but it's
okay.
got licorice root in it. And
Mm,
honey just really calms down the voice. So I would say that over green tea, although green tea is great for like a more
everything. Your
healthy
soul.
caffeine and your
Yeah.
soul. It just warms you up. Like I really do feel like I'm an 80-year-old woman inside of a young woman's body. Like I want to just drink tea and knit and go to bed at like 8 p.m. Like drinking a cup of tea on a nice quiet morning just puts me in the right place.
Yeah, or with a good book, or with
Oh
just
yeah.
your favorite show on in the background, just as
Yeah.
background noise, something
Love
like
it.
that. I'm into that too. So
Yeah.
you've been a part of EDM culture for some time now. If
Mhm.
you could change anything about the genre, the culture for EDM, what would it be?
There's a lot. Um, for me personally, I really try to treat my body well and as a temple. So the idea around the culture of really heavy drugs and drinking, people get hurt sometimes at these festivals and
Yeah, that's
um
when it's excess. That's when it's too much.
for
Like I
sure,
understand
for
having a
sure.
good
So
time, but there's a limit.
absolutely, absolutely. So I just want like people to be safe, and know that they can enjoy music completely sober, that that's not a requirement of the genre. Because I know there's a lot of pressures around that. Obviously, have a good time, like enjoy. Music is supposed to be this incredible experience. But the other thing would be on the industry side, the popularity and a kind of idolization of the DJ over the
Mm,
songwriter and the artist singing on it, which is referred to as the vocalist. So it's just that unequal split of when a DJ puts out a track with an artist that they often get more of the success and the popularity and the monetary benefits from that over the artist. I deal with a lot of clubs that only book DJs that don't really even know how to handle live vocals. So when there's a popular song and I want to go on stage with a DJ I've collaborated with, we've had multiple clubs say no. So
really?
I've had to learn how to, bring my own gear, bring my own in-ears. I even have my own mixing board where I can mix my vocals with effects because a lot of times there's clubs that don't even have reverb and delay and compression and EQ for your vocals to just mix
Wow.
in with the track when you're singing. So that's been difficult. But hopefully, that's starting to change. There's an artist named Halian who just went on her first solo tour, but she's had years and years of work and
Mm,
successful tracks before she's been able to pull this off. So that needs to change when the DJ is getting paid a massive amount of money to perform and the artist is either not allowed to, or if they are allowed to join, usually not getting paid anything. That's a little tough.
wow.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Why is there that gatekeeping going on?
I'm not sure, I mean, um, the industry is just kind of still sometimes a guy's world.
I was just gonna
Not
say, I was
not to
like,
say
even if
that that's an
she,
excuse, there's plenty
but
of
it's a
female DJs
theory.
trying to come up, but it does happen. And for the clubs and the DJs involved, it's a very easy overhead when you're showing up at a club and just bringing your USB stick. So then to
Mm,
say, okay, now I'm going to have to figure out all of these logistics to bring a vocalist on stage, and they're going to have to bring their equipment, and I'm going to have to come in earlier to do a sound check. And it's just a whole lot of work at the club. But, they're
okay.
used to just not a lot of live music, besides the DJ being there DJing, there's not a lot of other instrumentation. So it's just like trying to incorporate that more as just a norm for the EDM experience would be really nice. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I think it's just more of us kind of speaking up and demanding more respect for vocalists to be enlisted as an artist with the DJ instead of just our name saying featuring and not even sometimes being tagged on Spotify and even showing up on our own pages. So
Wow.
it's, yeah, it's something that all vocalists deal with, male and female, when they're collaborating. But I think there's more education that needs to be had on the audience side as well, to go
Yeah.
like, oh, I love the new track by this DJ, but like I'm really connecting with the song. Who wrote it? Like you got to put in a little more effort sometimes to figure that out.
And is it normally the vocalist that does the writing?
Yes,
Okay.
normally. There's things like The Middle by Zed,
Right, right.
where
And Maren
other
Morris.
writers did that. Maren Morris was auditioned with a couple other vocalists and they chose her track. So
You're
there
schooling
are
me.
times. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Have you been in a situation like that where you had to audition your own writing to be on
I
something?
was, well, my own voice. So like, cause she didn't write it. So they had the song, a few
Mm,
different females sang it. I was recently offered that, but knowing that I was gonna have to put in a lot of work, I was going to pay an engineer to, mix and tune my vocals before it was submitted because when you're competing, it has to sound perfect. And then to know
right.
like, well, it's not my song. I didn't write it where I like write all of my songs. I've only sung 2 songs that I haven't written. Um, and I ended up just passing on that and saying, like, I'd love to work with that DJ, but I want to work with it on my terms of he wants to collaborate with me as well as an artist,
Mm.
versus just another voice in the room trying to do that and compete.
Well, right, because how if you didn't write it, how do you know where to put the emotion into it? How do you know where to put inflection into it, tone?
Absolutely.
You don't know that unless you're the writer. You don't know what
Yeah.
it means to somebody else if you didn't write it. You don't know how to capture whatever it was they were going for, I would imagine.
Yeah. It's certainly more difficult to connect. And so, in that case, if you're going to sing somebody else's song, you have to be able to connect on an emotional level. Like you want it to come from a real place because listeners can tell when it's
Mm-hmm.
not real. Even if they don't know why, they can tell. It's just you feel it. It's an instinct. And yeah, it just wasn't hitting that way for me. So I had to pass.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Was it hard to say no?
It is because as an independent artist, you're trying to chase every opportunity. And the past couple of years, I've really had to try to teach myself that not every opportunity is the right opportunity for you because it
Yes.
creates a lot of burnout. And that's really hard to say no because you never know where any event, any phone call, any meeting, any song is going to lead.
Right.
Um, and you just have to have faith in yourself that you know the path you need to be on, that you're not just trying to kind of alter yourself to just make it work.
Yeah, I appreciate that authenticity. I appreciate that realness. There's a song of yours where you did get very vulnerable and very real, and I feel like it was Alien, and maybe that's one of your favorites too. I was like, okay, I get the message, but I want to hear from your own words. What's the story behind Alien, and what was making you feel like an alien at that time?
Well, what's so funny is when I walked into the studio that day, again, to write with writers I'd never written with before.
Oh
So I was in a
wow,
room with 3 new people. So completely out of my comfort zone, but I had kind of let other people in the industry get in my head. So I walked in that day and said, we can't write a space song. Like it
yeah.
can't have space vocabulary.
And then what happens? We write a
And
space.
then we write a space song. Like I think I just give off that vibe or something. Well, and when you're writing with new people,
Mm.
a lot of times they've never written a space song. So they get really excited, about that vocabulary. And
Mm.
obviously I do too. I could just do it forever. I could write about satellites in every song and probably not get bored, but I think other people would get bored of it. Um, but at the time, I'd actually just come off of a writer's camp, which is where they put a lot of, random people in rooms and that you're on a schedule and you write for 3 or 4 days with all these different people and see
Hmm.
what you come up with. And in that camp, they had included me because I was the only one who did electronic music in Nashville in that
Okay.
camp. So I was very different from what everyone else was writing, but I ended up getting made fun of a lot. They had panels where industry would come in and listen to your songs, and um, they said some really harsh things.
What did they
My
say?
song, they had said, this sounds like it could be the theme song for some EDM festival. And Nashville doesn't do this bubblegum pop. crap. They didn't say crap.
Well,
They said
well,
something
then they
else.
missed the memo with you because that's kind of your thing.
Yeah, and so and then it was silly, but they were giving out awards to different artists um about like, oh, the one that could write a song that'll break your heart, the one that could belt out a chorus, the best voice you've ever heard,
Oh boy.
superlative kind of awards. And for me, it was just the girl who usually wears silver. And
Oh,
so I literally left crying.
oh,
Because again, as an artist, you really put yourself out there. And I just felt really kind of judged, like it like right back to junior high and high school, you know?
yeah.
And so I was really feeling misunderstood. I never really felt like I could find my tribe in Nashville, although it's a great place to grow your craft as a songwriter. And um, I just felt like people really didn't see me for who I was. And um, that's kind of just, then I went into that co-write and, you know, I've always kind of felt misunderstood and like I just can't breathe in most social situations. Like I just feel really awkward. I love people and I love to perform, but it makes me so nervous. I'm like an
Yeah.
introvert that forces myself out into the world. And um, truly the only word that really like rang true for me at that point was like an alien, you know?
Yeah.
So so that's where that song comes from. And uh yeah, so a vulnerable place at a day when I was trying not to write a space song and I ended up writing a
A
space
space
song.
song. Do you think there is intelligent life out there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have some friends who are former NASA engineers and worked on the Apollo missions.
Did they
So
give you
these
any
guys
tea?
are legend. Oh yeah, tons of tea. But we were actually I was at a Christmas party with them recently, and they were talking about their meeting with SpaceX and the experiments they were going to do to try to find some evidence of small, you know, microscopic or bacterial life on Mars. So
Wow.
I definitely think it's out there. But the saddest theory I've heard to date, which seems to be like gaining in popularity, is that there's been other highly developed civilizations throughout the age of the universe, but we've all never happened at the same time. So we're
Hmm.
alone right now. Like the other ones died out, which would be so sad. But
Yeah.
I just don't think it's possible.
No.
All the stars, all of the different galaxies out there. I mean, how can there not be?
Well, there's evidence of plant life, which
Yeah,
makes me think, okay, something's eating this. It's growing and evolving for some reason. There's got to be
absolutely.
something else kind of going on, or at least that's my thought on it. I think it's possible.
Absolutely.
I think it's
Yeah.
possible. I wish we found out more. I wish we knew more. For our sakes, I hope there's somebody else more intelligent than us out there.
So,
Like,
so you don't have much faith in the humankind anymore, then
no,
I take it. Okay.
no, politically, hell no.
Oh yeah,
Not with like either side. Either side. The way that society is going, I'm like,
yeah. It's a rough
different.
landscape out there
Yeah.
for sure.
I wish we had a rewrite or a little like Jetson button or something that we can hit to like do a redo. Whew,
Yes.
I don't know. But let's say that we did get confirmation that there is intelligent life in space. What song of yours would you want them to hear first?
Ooh. Well, it's a new song that I haven't released yet. And I'm actually
Fun.
getting ready to film a music video for it. It's called If I Was a Jetson. So,
We did not plan that.
no, we did
We did
not
not
plan that.
plan that.
When
Oh
you
my
said
God.
that, I was like, well, perfect segue. It's truly one of my new favorite songs. I've had this song idea for years and had been pitching it over and over again to different writers until I finally found the right ones and the right producer that were willing to kind of get weird with me and go there. And the biggest challenge was, okay, so I'm going to sing a song about wanting to be the adopted child of the Jetsons, about not fitting in and feeling like I would have fit in if I was born into that family. And
Mm-hmm.
we've got to make it sound like cool and hip, not nerdy, but still nerdy. So that was a tall order, but I think we've done it. So I'd
I'm
want the
excited.
aliens to hear that song.
Definitely. Well, so in general, what are some of your hopes as the music industry moves forward?
Yeah, this is going to be one that maybe some other people don't agree with, but I would potentially like to see some of the social media platforms go away or calm down a little bit.
Really? Okay, what's your
Um,
theory on that?
I just I just have a hard time sometimes being on there and exploiting it the way I should be as a music artist because I see how much pain it causes people and I see what it phones are doing to humanity. And
Mm,
while there's some really amazing things that have come from social media and the connections, I think there's a lot of pain. I think we've forgotten how to just communicate face to face, human to human. And I think we've devalued the power of one because there's a lot of self doubt that creeps into people when they feel like they're not worth it, when they're not getting tons of followers or tons of likes. And that
yeah.
happens to all of us, no matter what level we're at on social media. And um, I shouldn't feel bad if I get a small number of people, if even one person likes something that I'm putting out or my art or something that I have to say that's making an impact on another human being, which is insanely huge. And
Yeah.
instead, we just want more and more numbers. You get to 1,000 and then you want 5,000. You get to 10,000 followers and that's not good enough. Now you want 100,000. And every opportunity you try to get as a music artist, you reach that level and you finally get to that level. They said, well, if you're at this level, people start taking you seriously. But then by the time you get there,
Oh,
it grows. So at 20,000, it doesn't matter anymore. Now it's 100,000. Now it's 1 million followers on TikTok. And you're spending all your time creating content instead of doing what you're supposed to be doing, which is writing from your heart to make people feel better and working
mm,
on your craft and working on your performance ability to go out and connect in a live music experience, to give them a way to disconnect from the stress of the world and escape for a minute. And if you're not doing that, why are you making art? So for me, even though it's a way for me to connect, I feel like humanity would be better off if that wasn't such a big deal in our lives.
yeah.
Um, that's truly the main thing I wish the industry would go back to. I actually had a meeting with one of my team members the other day that said, doesn't matter how good your music is, I can't take you into a meeting unless you have insane TikTok numbers. And I was just like, well, okay, that's
What?
depressing. Yeah, it's
And you
hard as an
mentioned a
artist.
million. Like you mentioned like a million TikTok followers. Is that what the
Yeah,
general
that's,
like
I
rule of thumb
mean,
is?
yeah, I mean, I have some friends that are in the hundreds of thousands now on TikTok and they're still waiting for opportunities.
Wow.
And they're finding their niche, which is great, but they're still not getting booked to go perform, which they absolutely should be. So
Hmm.
basically, you're competing as a music artist with influencers. And the other day, I was getting on to post a reel on Instagram. They have recently, just in the past couple of weeks, changed this. But for a while, um, you can now say what topics your
Yeah, yeah,
reel is about. And I was scrolling down, and music wasn't even a topic. So you have an
yeah.
industry that's telling you the only way to get ahead is through social media, but you have social media companies pushing influencers forward. I even had a call with YouTube saying, we understand that this was once a platform for artists to post their music videos or post their recap from a show. But because of influencers and content creators, now we're pushing music back unless you're posting multiple times a week. If you're posting
Oh,
all the
wow.
time on all platforms. So yeah, it's strange. I mean, like I want to go back to making an album. That's how an artist tells you their soul
Right.
instead
And
of
not
just a
like,
single.
yeah, and not this is the latest single, this is what's popping now, and this is what we're gonna focus on now. And it's
Yeah,
like,
and
screw
six
it, we're
weeks
just gonna
later,
ignore it.
everybody's forgotten about that song you poured your heart into, and you have to have another one. You have to beat yourself over and over again.
Wow. So
So
how do you drown out that noise?
it's hard. I mean, I truly, during the holidays, I had to take a break. I had to
Yeah.
get offline. And I've hurt my career by doing it, by taking a break, because now all the algorithms have seen I'm not posting consistently. And now I have to build that back up again when I feel good enough to go back and do it. But like I was focusing on being a good human being, living life, being present. Those are experiences that I'm going to use to write about,
Hmm.
so being off my phone, being present with my family and the people I love meant, probably having a negative effect on my dreams and my career.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's an interesting battle, I think.
Is it worth it? Is it worth it to just say screw it for a few weeks? I'm going to focus on personal things.
Yeah,
I
I
think so
think
too.
so. It just felt so good. Everybody I know, nobody that I have talked to that's taken a break from social media has come back and said, that was really bad for my mental health.
You,
I shouldn't
yeah,
have done that.
yeah. I've never heard that either.
Yep,
It's an
right?
important lesson. It's an important lesson. We got to stay more balanced. I would
Yeah,
absolutely agree with that.
yep.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for the nuggets of wisdom. Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing your world with us a little bit today, Adara. I am so
absolutely.
excited for the new Jetson single. Is there anything else we should be
Thank
looking
you.
forward to?
I have a lot of music. I'm going to try to release an album. I also have some other projects that I'm potentially working on around some like Marvel movie releases. So stay tuned for that. And also, please check out the educational stuff I'm doing with Musology. It's really done my heart a lot of good. I'm doing singing about math, basically, educational songs to help people learn math. So that's been amazing.
Okay, I need to go watch those because math is my worst subject.
Yeah. Okay. I
Like,
wrote a jam about pi,
yeah.
3.14 pi. So,
Yes. Okay, that's on my
so
list. I love it. Adara, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for
thank
being here.
you. Thank you so much.